Okay. You put this over here. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, Noodle Squad. This is season 2, episode 2 for my podcast, Noodle On with Noel. And this is officially my 3rd guest ever. We have a pro triathlete and medical student, Matthew Marquardt. First of all, hello, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm like really excited to talk to you because we were in the same age group the first time I did Kona because 2022, you won Kona for the age groupers. And
Hmm.
I didn't know who you were or heard anything. We're completely in different circles, I guess. But I looked it up. I was like, who won my age group? And it was you. And then I started looking at your profile, and you were in medical school too. So that like blew my mind. In 2022, you was that like a full? Because I know like with med school you have easier years and harder years. Was that a hard year? Like, doesn't it get easier? Like the 3rd year and 4th year are a lot calmer.
Yeah, so it's even more variable than that in that like fourth year it's like kind of first 2 years are similar to college in that it's a lot of like in-person learning, but it's a really high volume, so it's of material that you're going through, and so you just have more flexibility with your time, but there's harder units and easier units, and I had just come off of like the hardest unit of those first 2 years going into Kona, and then third year is really challenging because you're doing rotations, and the start of fourth year is also really challenging because you're doing what's called sub internships and aways, which are basically like prolonged interviews for residency. And then once you hit like October of your fourth year, then the rest of med school is pretty chill. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly it was I guess in some ways an easier part of med school, but I had just come off of like one of the hardest sections of that part.
So that's another thing I wanted to ask you was triathlon almost turning into like a de-stressor. Like it's like that's your vacation sort of like going to Kona is like gonna be a lot less stressful than studying for it's not the bar, it's the MCAT. The MCAT. Like that seems way because like I think training and I'm not at your level at all, but I think training is 10 times easier than any school. I couldn't stand school, but like I'd go out for a 20-mile run way easier than sitting down and studying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and no, it certainly is a de-stressor, and thankfully it has been through most of my medical school career, and it's a big part of the reason why I think I've been able to do both at such a high level is that doing triathlon enables me to kind of escape and do something other than medicine, and same thing where medicine kind of also enables me to escape from triathlon. And I think it's really easy, like especially as you get into the sport more. It's a small community, which is really phenomenal, and that's one of the reasons why I love the sport. But I think that can also be, you have to be careful, I think, sometimes, because then like your perspective on the world gets distorted a little bit, whereas like medicine, I think, kind of pulls me back and like gives me a bigger picture as well. So I've really enjoyed the synergy between the two different aspects of my life. And but yeah, no, it's definitely all of my vacation time does go towards triathlon. I'm able to do a couple other trips here and there, but yeah, the vast majority of my vacation time is allotted to triathlon, and for the most part, it does feel like a vacation, which is nice.
I'm wondering if you said because okay, so just to recap real quick for people who aren't super, I a lot of my audience follows triathlon very closely, and some don't really follow it at all. They just kind of know me who does triathlon. But I want to say you just won your first pro, you got your first pro win at Ironman Cairns like 2 months ago, and then Lake Placid you just won. But what I wanted
Hmm.
to say was, I wonder if because now you have been from the start beating pros who do this full time. This is
Hmm.
their full time job, eat, sleep, and train. And this is not really your full. I mean, you train. I don't know how much you train actually, but you are beating pros who do this full time now. So I'm wondering if this is almost an advantage. Like you have two different things. You can completely shut off one thing. And I almost wonder if that like helps you because you have like a total other world you can dive into as opposed to just being eat, sleep, train, only think about triathlon. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, I do very much think that it's an advantage, and obviously there are some disadvantages in that I certainly don't get, maybe quite as much sleep. Maybe my recovery is not technically quite as good as it could be if I was only doing triathlon. But the real advantage is a couple things. Is it like, at the end of the day, I'm doing triathlon because it's something that I enjoy. This is not my ultimate career. I'm going to do it for as long as I can, but it's no secret that I'm not going to do this for 15 years. And so at the end of the day, like the thing that I try and tell myself before any big race is like, if I win the race, I'm still going to become a doctor. And if I lose the race, I'm still going to become a doctor. And so like, I'm, very much like, there's this great little blip in my life right now that's triathlon, but the kind of ultimate impact on my career is not necessarily like the ultimate end goal is still the same. And so that means that like it just puts everything in perspective a lot more, like when things go well versus when things don't go well. And I think that, takes a lot of the stress off of, and helps with the nerves a little bit. I still get nervous before a race and I still obviously want to do really well, but it just like, yeah, I mean, it very much enables me to. What I love about it is that when I'm training, I'm focused on training. And literally, like, as soon as the workout's done, I'm like done thinking about triathlon until the next workout. And so I'm not like perseverating over, did I do that exactly right? Or like, oh, how did this compare to last week type of a thing? Because it's just like, okay, did I execute the workout or not? And generally I do, and so then it's like move on to the next thing. And I think that that can be really beneficial. And also like when you only have so much time in the day and you only have a very specific window during which to get a workout done or to get work done, you're a lot more efficient. And so there's no like, there have been a couple periods of time where I've basically just done triathlon only for a week or two or whatnot, and it's like a 2 hour workout ends up taking like 4 hours of your time, whereas like total setup to take down time and everything might be 2.5 hours for a 2 hour workout in like my life right now. And so there's certainly some lots of different benefits to doing a lot, even though it might not seem like it on the surface originally.
No, I 100% get that. That makes so much sense because like I have made it to where I do social media full time, so I get like this. It's I guess at first I was like, this seems like a luxury because I could train a lot more, but then I'm like, this is so not needed. Like you said, 4 hours to do a 2 hour workout. It's just so much procrastination when if you
Mm-hmm.
have only this window to get this done, you can get into it. And I was actually going to say that brought me another. So when you go out on like 5 hour bike rides and stuff, which is super typical for full distance Ironman training, you said you're all pretty much focused on triathlon, but do you ever get like, does the medical school stress and life stress kind of seep into that? Like, oh, I have a ton of shit to do. I have like a ton of stuff to do when I get off this bike? Or are you able to compartmentalize, shut that out and or is that something like going through your head constantly? Yeah, like I have a ton of work to do.
It depends on the day very much. Like
Okay.
there are certainly some days where it doesn't come up at all, but then there are certainly days where like it's a near constant battle throughout the workout of like, oh my god, I've got to do this, and oh, I forgot about that. I have to do that too. And so it kind of varies, and it definitely does happen, but it's something that I've worked really hard to try and not allow it to take over the workout, because obviously like I mean the to-do list I have is ever expanding, and if you
Right.
let that kind of control you, then it's pretty miserable.
Yeah.
And like so there's I think this balance between recognizing the things that you have to do but also just focusing on the things that you can control and on the things that like are most important. So like I have this like analogy that I've used with people before of like, sometimes I feel like I'm like, like a forest firefighter type of a thing where it's like, okay, there's 20 different fires going on at a given time. What's the one that's most important that I need to
Right.
put out right now versus what can we leave for a little bit longer? And I feel like that's kind of what every day is, where there's certainly things that are on the to-do list and I want to get them done, but other things that are higher priority just keep coming up. And so like something that I wanted to do, you know today ends up getting done in like 3 months because like that's just because other more important things have happened. So there's very much been a lot of workload management and also kind of the mental side of dealing with a really high workload and that's I've kind of developed over time. I'm certainly still not perfect with it. Like there are definitely days where it's pretty can be miserable to do a long workout because there's so much stuff to do. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, okay, what's the thing that I need to focus on in this moment? And generally, that's the workout. So yeah, it's been hard, but I, have made really good progress on it and still am making progress on it.
If though it comes down to it, you will skip, I don't even know if does this happen often where you cannot get that workout done? This is 10 times more important, something to do with. And the reason I'm so fascinated in med school, I know I watched my twin go through med school, the white coat ceremony,
Yep.
all of that. My dad's a doctor too. My mom worked in healthcare. So I'm pretty I would have loved to do that at some point. I just can't do school. But long story short, I kind of witnessed my twin going through how hard it was we're 30, so we're twins. So they're 2 years out of med school. I think they picked their residency. Anyways, I saw that. And then as a triathlete myself, I was like, I don't know I was thinking of you. I was like, how is he doing both of this together? Because I just also know how much a 5-hour ride kind of takes out mentally. You don't really want to go back and start looking at, I'm kind of already, so I wonder if, that's kind of, I was about to ask something right before that. Oh yeah, getting done.
Right, yeah. So the number one thing is that the first thing I do every day is almost always a workout.
Okay.
Because there certainly have been, and generally, almost always, the first thing that I do in the day is the hardest workout of the day. Not always. Later today, I'll do my bike ride because there's some aspects of certain workouts it's not great to do right when you've woken up. Figure it out over the years which workouts are okay, which workouts you can still do at a high quality at 4:30 in the morning.
Right.
And which workouts you kind of need to let the body wake up a little bit more. But I always try and do a workout first thing because first thing guarantees that you get at least something done. And honestly, the thing that gets the most anxiety is if I wake up and do work, which I do sometimes because generally speaking, I have the most motivation, the most focus kind of earlier in the day. And so there are days where I've been okay, I really need to get this done. And then, I work on, the first 8 hours of the day or whatever I'm working. But then to then have to you're mentally drained from working so hard on a certain thing. And then you have to do 2 workouts. That's really unpleasant. And also just challenging me to do. So always try and do a workout as the first thing. And then if, shit really hits the fan later on in the day, then yes, have been times where I've skipped a workout, but I've been actually pretty good the last 9 months in particular, where there really haven't been many workouts that I've missed. And I think, in January I started rotations, and I think one of the biggest things that taught me is that there's just basically that I can do a lot more than I thought I could. And, I can get a lot more, I can push through a lot more things than I thought that I could push through. And so whereas in the past, maybe after I would try not do a workout after 6, now it's okay, if that's what I need to do, then that's what I need to do. So I've missed pretty few workouts in the last, 6 to 9 months, which has been great. But yeah, I mean, it certainly can happen. But a lot of it comes down to just communication, and that my coach and I every week he puts up the schedule and he's okay, does this work for you? And there are certainly there are times where it won't, and so then I'll be hey, actually on this day we can only do this because I'm expecting these things to go on. But then also I think again, because of rotations, I've gotten a lot more comfortable waking up really early. If it requires a 3:30 wake up or a 4 a.m. wake up instead of a 4:30 or 5, then it's oh, okay, I guess that's just what we're doing today. So
what is hold on, totally random. What's your favorite rotation that you like?
So
if far you're doing all of them, right? ER, pediatrics.
So far I've just done kind of pediatrics, which was a variety of different pediatric stuff, and then family medicine. And honestly, I've really enjoyed all of it. I ultimately want to do ear, nose, and throat residency, and then head and neck cancer surgery. And so I did 2 weeks of that in the spring, and so obviously very much enjoyed that. But I think what it really comes down to for me, the rotations that I enjoy the most are the rotations that I feel like I learn the most and am given the most responsibility and autonomy. And so, like, this is nothing against family medicine, but I have no interest in doing family medicine long term. But I really, really enjoyed my family medicine rotation because I was with a physician who really loved to teach and gave me a lot of responsibility in terms of managing managing the patients and actually helping him get more done. And so that was a lot more enjoyable than some other rotations where like you feel like, why am I even here? Because like, you're just not really contributing or like anything. So it's really interesting. Sometimes third year of medical school can just feel like you're like playing pretend, where you're just like, and like medicine is graduated. So by that I mean like as you get older you get more responsibility and you do more things and whatnot. But there are certainly times in third year that you're like, I'm doing something that an undergrad is doing, which is basically just standing and watching. And so there's kind of this whole spectrum. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it when I've gotten the ability to actually do more and contribute to patient care.
I think you are making it right. My dad was family medicine for like, I don't know, 30, 40 years. And he was miserable. He got very burnt out. The only thing he loved doing was teaching his students. So I think you made a right call with that. I have some random stuff that I thought of. Like, I was like, I bet you haven't been asked a lot of this stuff. So Ironman's been inviting you to, I think it was just maybe a few last year, but you're on pretty much all the pro panels now at the races you go to. Was that something like, are you good at public speaking? Was that something that you got nervous for? Or are you just completely, you have too much, you're focused on the race, that this is just like or is that something that you were like, yeah, are you prepared for that? Do you like doing those?
Yeah, no, I mean, I always love doing it because at the end of the day, like, for me, my biggest goal in triathlon is to kind of use the sport to make a difference.
Right.
And to kind of tell my story and tell the things that I'm passionate about, which is, cancer research and being an inspiration and a role model to other people to kind of take the leap and do something that they didn't think was possible. And the pro panel is obviously a great way to do that. It's a great way to tell my story, and it's a great way to get in front of fans and athletes alike. And so I'm always honored to be invited and will always say yes, because at the end of the day, like, this sport doesn't exist without age groupers and without fans. And so like, the hour of my time it takes to do a pro panel is like, in my mind, like one of the smallest things that I can do to kind of pay it forward and say thank you. And so yeah, no, like, I've always loved it. And I mean, I'd like to think that I'm good at public speaking. I guess that's part of the reason why they keep inviting me back. But yeah, like, I guess the first one I was invited to is Ironman Coeur d'Alene in 2023, because I got I got third at Ironman Texas and kind of came out of nowhere. And so they wanted to kind of like talk about me a little bit.
Rudy Von Berg won, right? Yeah, and you were like, you were third, but very close. Like, it was like all three of you, like, right next to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the closest Ironman finish ever. The closest Ironman podium ever, where first through third was only 21 seconds apart. So yeah, that was quite the race to start on, for sure.
Yeah, because is that your first pro race?
After
Kona the year. And so you basically went from, was your trajectory always to be in the pro field, or like, yeah?
So this is like I never planned or never necessarily dreamt of getting to where I am today, which I think has been so fun in that I swam in college. I went to Princeton University, swam all 4 years, graduated in 2021. And like, I really just did triathlon as something to like keep in shape for. Like, I just wanted something to train for, then did well in that first race, qualified for 2021 Worlds. And, so basically right when I started training for my first ever race, I originally did not have a coach, because I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do one race. I will, just train my own, save some money, whatever. But then I spent like 2 or 3 weeks like coaching myself, which pretty much just meant like doing 2 different disciplines a day and basically like going as hard as I wanted, like as hard as I could for an hour and a half each time. Right. And after like 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, maybe this is not the most productive way to train. And so I reached out to who my current coach is, because one of my other swim
You found him. Sorry, you found him immediately, Andrew Yoder?
Yeah.
That was your first, like, you didn't even...
This is my first coach. I've had him since basically day one. because one of my former swim teammates is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and during COVID, I started training with Andrew because like it was a good way to cross train, and it was also like basically the only way to get pool time at that point.
Oh, right.
And so he basically like I got recommended and learned about Andrew through that teammate and yeah, from like very early on, I think Andrew saw the potential. And I would say I was like, I'm gonna do this or whatnot, and he kept egging me on to like do one more race or whatnot, and I'd be like, like I don't think I'm good enough.
Right.
Like sure, like you think that I can be like like world championship pro qualifier, yeah, like
He
sure,
saw
whatever.
in you.
Yeah,
What was
he
your
saw it
first? What
in.
was the first race you did? The first like
So
triathlon?
the first race I did was Gulf Coast 70.3 in
Oh, it was a half.
2021.
Okay.
It was a half, and I went like 4:05 in that, and I was on a borrowed bike. I had no aero helmet, no disc wheel, and like nothing special, and
Right.
still did really well. And then my first full distance race was Ironman Texas in 2022, and I went like, what did I go? I don't remember the exact time, but like my time as an age grouper would have been 10th in the pro field. And I would say that like that was really when like I first started to like see the potential. And then really the moment that like really I think solidified in it to me of like, hey, like I do have potential is that I did Ironman Lake Placid in 2022 as an age grouper. And I would have gotten fourth in the pro field, and
Yes,
I had the
I
second
remember that.
fastest. Yeah, so I had the second fastest run time, and I won the overall title by 50 minutes, by 50 minutes. And so that was the point at which I was like, okay, like like I guess there is, like, I guess he's right.
You're good. Did you?
So
It was never like it was just kind of like stumbling into like doing this really well, and then he's like, "Hey, I think you can. I can help you go even further." I wanted to know, now that you were like, did it always? Not always, but like, have you? Are you convinced like when you start a race, like, are you convinced you can win? You can beat any of these guys? Did you like when you first started racing pro? Did you think like I might do well, or like I have a chance of beating any of these guys? And now, obviously, you do. You won twice in a row. But like, I just want to know if is there any self doubt at all? Did you ever like think, yeah,
there's a fair amount of self doubt,
okay,
and
yeah, because you don't seem
my
like you have any.
no, there's a fair amount of self doubt because I think like I think that there's kind of two aspects of I guess mentality. I think there's arrogance, which is the idea of like, oh yeah, I can like I'm totally gonna win this. But then there's also intelligence, which is like you can still have some arrogance and some confidence, but like you understand where your weaknesses are, you understand where your competitor strengths are, you can kind of play out different scenarios in your mind. And I'd like to think that I'm more on like the intelligence side of the spectrum, and so because of that, like I know all the things that can either go wrong for me or go really right for someone else that can impact the race. And so yeah, so there's always some self-doubt, and there's always some I guess second guessing, of like, okay, like how's this going to play out type of a thing. And it's something I've like really tried to work on because I mean, once the gun goes, like all of that goes away for the most part. But I'm kind of leading up to the start in the morning. Like there's definitely a lot of nerves and a lot of questions, and I've really tried to focus more on, like, as I've gotten into the sport more, like focus on the things that I can control and be like, you know what, if this happens or that happens, like I can't control that, so I'm not going to worry about that. And I think like that very much played out in Lake Placid on the run, where I think a younger me, when Trevor came through like the first time, I think a younger me would have been like really worried about it or even tried to like chase and hold on immediately. But like now I have much more of a, like, okay, like if Trevor can hold this pace and like keep going, like, he totally deserves a win, because I'm not sure that I can do that. And I'm just going to focus on my race and what I can control. And then, as the marathon we got later into the marathon, it was like, okay, like I have the ability to push a little bit more, so let's leverage that now. So yeah, so I'm definitely a lot more, I think, calmer when it comes to racing, than like I was originally. But yeah, no, there's always self-doubt, and because you just never know. Like, I try very much not to watch what other people are doing. I don't think that's really productive. And so I know what I'm doing, and I know that, like, training's gone well, or maybe training hasn't gone so well. And so I know those things, but I don't know, like, if someone's doing something even better, even crazier. So there's always that kind of self-doubt and, like, what's going on, what's going to happen.
I think that's smart. My first coach ever, Matt Hansen, you raced him, probably a lot, said that exact same thing. He said he doesn't follow anybody else. He doesn't look at it. He just like does his own thing. He doesn't want to see how many watts on people's Stravas or people getting combs and all that. He's like, I don't pay attention to that. I just want to do what I do because I can't do anything. So I don't know. I feel like that's kind of smart. For you, I know you kind of did it to stay in shape, but were you in those few years, I guess it wasn't very long, that you were an age grouper before pro, did you kind of follow the sport? Like, did you know the names? Did you follow Pro Triathlete? Like, basically my question is were you kind of a fan, and have you raced people that you were a fan of now in the?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess, like, I'm very fortunate in that my transition from being an age grouper to a pro is very, very short. And so
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm, like, a fan or awestruck of anyone, but there's definitely a lot of people that I have a lot of respect for as both people and as athletes. But, there's that Ironman people would make fun of me a lot, like the first season, because I don't know, we'd be doing like a fighting chance or something, and they'd be like,
yeah.
oh, like, there goes so and so, and I'd be like, oh, I have no idea who that is. Or they'd be like, we're filming, I'd be like, what are you doing the rest of the day? They were like, we're filming so and so, and I'm like,
Who?
like, who's this? And that, again, that was very intentional, because, like, I found when I was a swimmer, I found that I was very much, like, hyper focused on all that stuff, and I just felt that it was unproductive at the long term, because then you start thinking, like, oh, so and so is doing this, I can't possibly do this. And when you just kind of focus on yourself, there is, in theory, there should be no ceiling. That's kind of been my whole goal, is like, there's no ceiling, and so, like, I can just get better and better, instead of being like, oh, like, so and so does this, like, will I ever be able to do that, or something like that. So
This is almost a question kind of just for me, because I don't know if this is really, but is it easier? Not easier. Well, yeah, easier. Is it easier to get a faster time in the pro field than it is an age grouper? Does that make sense? Because
yeah,
I think your fastest time, I don't know, you obviously never broke 8 as an age grouper, but now you're consistently breaking 8 as a pro. So I'm wondering if that pace line, if all that, the dynamics, the logistics just seem to make the day go faster than having to, wade through. I don't know. Does that make sense?
yeah, no, like, there's no doubt, the dynamics of the pro field make the race faster.
Okay.
And, like, just the simplest explanation ever. And it's funny because, like, when I was an age grouper, we were very intentional in that, like, actually, after that first season, I could have taken a pro card.
Right.
So I could have been a pro in 2022, but we were very intentional, and we were like, no, we want Kona. Like, we want to do Kona, and we want to do, we want to do well at Kona. And so I intentionally did not take a pro card in 2022, but my significant other will point out at times, because there are times now as a pro that I'm kind of like, oh, I wish I could just be an age grouper and, like, just be doing this for fun, or, like, I try and have as much fun as possible, but, like, I wish I could just do it and there's no, like, expectations or whatnot.
Right.
And she's like, well, remember when you were an age grouper, you were so pissed off and you so wanted to be a pro because you felt like it wasn't fair because the pros got all these different advantages. So
they do, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I guess the big one I see is a pace line. Like, I feel like if you're all sitting, if there's like 20 guys sitting at the same exact speed as an age grouper, you could do that speed, but you won't have a massive line with you. You're by yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's one I can think of.
No, I very much believe that the sport needs to move, for pros, needs to move to 20 meters, because like there is undoubtedly a benefit to sitting even 15 meters back, because we're going so fast. The faster you're going, the longer the draft zone is. And 12 meters is just not enough. And I think it's very clear, like, the vast majority of the winners that have come out of races this year, like myself included, like, at Lake Placid, we were in a group during the bike. I mean, like, Ironman Cairns was an example where I was not in a group and still won. Like, Lionel won Oceanside and St. George, very much doing kind of a solo effort, but like pretty much every single other race, the winner of the race comes from someone that was sitting in a group in the bike. And so like, you can make every excuse as to why not to do 20 meters, but like the proof is there. Like the winners are the ones that are in a group. And so there's certainly a benefit, certainly helps the pros go faster, for sure.
What did you think of Cairns? I love Cairns. That's like one of my favorites. I love Australia, but yeah,
So that was my first time in Australia, and it was really really cool. I really wish that I could have stayed longer, but
yeah.
because of Lake Placid coming up, pretty much like hightailed it out of there after we went. But it was a phenomenal country. Would totally go there again in a heartbeat because it was just so pretty, but also there were a lot of like aspects that felt like home, even though obviously it was very far away from home. And I think that kind of duality was really cool. And then the people there were phenomenal, and I just had such a great time there, and definitely would love to
It's
go
the
back.
best. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm doing it next year. I love it. And also, you should look up Ironman Western Australia. That's an amazing race also. It's
really.
really cool.
Okay,
It's also even further travel. It's
I
so hard to
know.
get there. It's like really hard.
The hardest thing is like you take like the what 15-hour flight from LA to Sydney,
And you're
and
not
then
done.
like we got off the plane and we are like, oh shoot, we've got like another 3.5 hour flight to Cairns, and then
Yeah.
Western Australia is like 4.5
It's like
hours.
5 hours next. And then you have to
Yeah.
drive from Perth, like a 2 hour drive, 90-minute
Oh
drive.
my
You have to get a
god.
car and then drive to the west. But so that's like one of the hardest travels. I think that because I'm in Vermont and it's like, I think
Hmm.
it's literally polar opposite the
Yeah,
world,
it probably
like
is. It
as
probably is.
exact opposite as it gets. But another question. Are you good on time? A few
Yeah, we're
questions left.
fine.
I had a question. So you're getting sponsored Trek Caselli, I think. And I'm
Hmm.
wondering did you navigate that yourself? Like they reached out to you and are like, did you know how to price yourself? Did you like kind of look all this up, or do you have a manager helping you? How did that work?
Yeah, so again, I was like very fortunate to get sponsors like pretty early on in my
Yeah.
career, largely because I had such a consistently successful age group career. Like generally speaking, you have to be in the pro field probably for at least a year and start getting results within the pro field to really start getting sponsors, but because of how well I had done as an age grouper, people were a little bit more willing to take the chance. And so yeah, I mean the first couple of years has been just me having the relationships with those brands and working on it. And to be perfectly honest, I'm sure I'm not fully optimized in terms of how much money I'm making, and but that's okay. I'm okay with that because again, like this is not my long-term career, and from the beginning what was most important to me was being with the highest quality, highest performing brands more so than a brand that pays money. And so I've always been very willing to sacrifice $1,000 here, $1,000 there, or whatever, in order to have the best gear. Because at the end of the day, the performance is what matters more so than the money to me. And so yeah, like I'm sure that some money's been left on the table, but like again, that's fine because that's not my priority. Is not to make as much money as possible. It's to be the best athlete possible.
Right. That's amazing way to put it. Cause yeah. And also this stuff is super hard to navigate. A
Yeah.
lot of people I feel like then I didn't know that. That's really cool that you respond and do all the emailing to and from brands by yourself. Cause that's a lot of work to like
It is.
orchestrate that. I have a question. Do you see yourself when you get further established into your medical career?
Mhm.
Do you ever see yourself doing triathlon? Not at this, meaning like you get older, you're like, can you do this sport less competitively now? Or is like, you're at the top now. So like, do you think you
Yeah.
could go back to like, just do it? Or would that just not interest you? It wouldn't be something.
I don't know. I think it's a really fascinating question and one that I don't really have an answer for. It's certainly not a no. In that, like at the end of the day, like I think more so than in college, like I did sport because I love to train, I love to see improvement, um, and like I love to compete. And whereas triathlon, I've tried to have more of an approach of like, I do really love the improvement, and doing well is obviously a nice bonus.
You're
But
right,
like
right.
at the same time, it's about like having something that you're working towards and giving structure to your day and being active. I don't get outside as much as most other triathletes, but like, doing things that are good and make you happy and that you enjoy. And so I think as long as I can enjoy triathlon, the training of it and like the racing of it, I do think that I certainly could do it, kind of longer term, and just not at the elite level. But I think, what's been really fascinating is there have been many different times in my triathlon career where, I would kind of enter like a new phase of medical school, or like it's a new block, it's a new subject or new rotations, and you're like I don't really know if I can do this or not. Like that happens a lot, and we've always found a way so far. And so, everyone always asks the $1 million question of like, okay, like, when are you going to be done being a pro? And the answer genuinely is like, I don't know. Like, I'm figuring this out like 6 months at a time.
Right.
And like,
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
so far it's going pretty well. So,
Doing really
and
well.
so like, just because, even I think that it might not be possible to do past X, point doesn't mean that that's actually going to be the case, because it very well could be that I'll get to that point and somehow figure out a way to make it work. So yeah, that's just been a fascinating thing about, I think, my career overall, is that it's just always about like, oh wait, actually, like, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah. Well, because it's working. Does it, and also like shows you like when you win something, when you win a pro race, I guess twice now in a row, you don't like, does that give you more I guess that gives you more confidence. Like, okay, well, like I could have gotten away with like even less, or everything I'm doing is working.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. And I think like, yeah, I think everything will just continue to evolve, and it's hard to say like exactly like what next year is going to look like, but there's definitely a lot of confidence that comes from obviously doing well, because at the end of the day, like, the result is great, but what gives me more motivation, than anything else, is to be able to express the work that I've put in. And so, like Texas and St. George this year were not like my best results. And what was frustrating about that was not that I got 15th at those races, but like I wasn't able to have my body respond in the way that I wanted to. And that's what was so exciting to me about Cairns and about Lake Placid, particularly on the run for both of them. And where I was like, okay, like we're finally expressing this run fitness that we know has been there from the training, but we just haven't quite gotten right in a race. And that's, I think, what excites me more than like any specific result.
Is that your training's paying off and like it's working. And
Yeah.
you were a swimmer in college all 4 years. What was your distance in college for swimming?
So I did 100 and 200 backstroke and butterfly. So
Wow.
I did not
Okay.
do, I was not a distance freestyler.
Yeah, I would have just guessed distance freestyle. That's what I would have guessed.
Nope. I very much swam like underwaters were my strong suit. And
Oh
so
wow.
that very much catered me towards like the butterfly and backstroke. And yeah, so it's definitely being an open water swimmer has definitely been a big, everyone just assumes that like the open water swimming came the most easily, and in some ways it did, but there's a very big difference between doing an hour long open water swim and doing even a 2 hour pool workout, because in a pool workout, you're getting a break every 15 to 20 seconds when you do a
Right.
flip turn. Whereas in open water, there's no pause, there's no break. And like both mentally and physically, that makes it much more challenging and just very different.
Do any of your old swim teammates, have any of them gone on to pro sports? Are they that you follow? Do you know of any that went on to, or maybe even like, yeah.
Some people did, some people did like an extra year, like a red shirt year type of thing where they got a graduate degree and did swimming. And then some of them did like masters swimming. So like,
Right.
they're
Okay.
they're kind of semi-competitive, but nothing really kind of at the pro level. Interestingly, I know more people that like ran in college
Okay.
who have gone on to either be like pro runners, because I think, it's just like, I think swimming in particular, it's hard and
Yeah, there's not
hard to
much you can do
continue to
with it,
do
right?
that. Um, but yeah, so it's I don't know like a ton of people, because I also think like, I don't know, there's very much a grind in swimming. You're doing doubles most likely
Yeah.
from a very young age, like even in college. I mean, a lot of the other sports worked really hard too, but like I felt like we consistently were putting the most hours in every week by week, and also over the course of the entire year, because there's really no off season in swimming.
Yeah.
And so by the time that people like graduated, they're like, I'm done. So it's been kind of funny that I'm still swimming all these years later.
Yeah, because I heard swimming's one of the biggest burnout sports. you're kind of done with it. I mean, it's like the Olympics, sort of. You can go pro, sort of, with swimming, but other than that, like a lot of people are just, yeah, and you're still in the pool.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say you graduated. You're 27, so you graduated in 2020. No.
So, yeah, my original class was 2020. I took a gap year halfway through college, and that's actually what inspired my switch into medicine. So yeah, so I graduated in 2021 technically.
I was gonna ask that. What is like? Have you always day one wanted to be a doctor, or it?
Nope. It was very much, when I started college, I really wanted to do like climate change. I did chemistry. My major was chemistry, and
Oh wow.
so I was able to get a lot of the pre-med requirements done, and I had like this feeling that like, yeah, like maybe I'd want to do medicine, but I don't really know. I didn't have a lot of exposure to medicine growing up, but I was like, I think I want to do sustainable energy, solar technology, batteries, things like that.
Wow.
But then kind of midway through college, I was like, you know what? Like I never really ruled out this medicine thing, and like it's going to take some time to really figure out if I want to do that or not. And so I decided to take a year off where I did a deep dive both into kind of like the medical field as well as the like clean energy startup space, and kind of from the experience decided, you know what? Medicine's where I feel like I really belong. And so then switched into kind of true full-time pre-med, whatever, my junior year of college.
And you do want your ultimate goal is to be a surgeon, like in the operating
Mm-hmm.
room.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And throat and head and neck surgery.
Correct.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's just so cool. I grew up watching Grey's Anatomy. I'm sure people have, as is the most inaccurate medical show ever, apparently is like super inaccurate, but that always made me want to be somewhat, I would love to do surgery. That's just cool. That's really cool. Have you done surgical rounds yet? Like in the room, in the back, like watching people?
Yeah, so I mean, like I've like shadowed,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
is watching, and then when I was doing my kind of an ENT elective this past spring, then yeah, like I'm scrubbing in, assisting when and where I can, which as a medical student means predominantly like you're holding the retractor,
Oh, that's cool.
or maybe you're throwing a stitch or two at the end of the case, but you're mainly watching.
Okay. I think I started following you. I don't know. I absolutely love your day in the life videos. I'm a sucker for I love day in the life videos always. One of the ones that Iron Man did a collaboration with you. Anyways, it was like, I think it was like you started the day at like 4:30, but then you were still biking. I don't know what, it was one of the videos. You did a run, then work and school, then you did swim, and then you did a bike. But you pretty
Mm-hmm.
much, and I don't know how accurate all these days in the life. Mine's never very accurate. A lot of times I put like different times that were, but
Mm-hmm.
what you said, you ended the day biking at like 9:30 and there's something, or you were in bed by 9:30. Are
Mm-hmm.
you able to just shut it off and actually get a lot of sleep? Or like, does
Yeah.
all of this chaos kind of, not chaos, well, yeah, chaos work kind of keep you up? Or,
Yeah. So I always base all of my day in the life videos off of like an actual day. And so I kind of decide when I do it, I'll like make a decision in the morning of like, oh, like, like I think today would be a representative day of what a day in my life is. And so then I make extra effort to kind of try and capture stuff throughout the day. And so, yeah, like I've, so whatever you saw is there. And generally speaking, yeah, I'm able to, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm generally so tired by the time like 8 o'clock,
oh,
by
I
the time like
bet, yeah.
7 to 8 o'clock rolls around, I'm like, I gotta go to bed. And so I sleep really well. Sleep deprivation will do that to you sometimes.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like I also try and I'm very fortunate in that for the most part I have not had trouble sleeping. It's interesting, this is a slight side note, but like the stress of third year is so high that like a lot of my classmates will like kind of develop some sort of insomnia or some sort of sleep difficulty at some point during it because they're just so stressed out. But I guess I just exhaust myself so much that the stress doesn't
Right.
override the desire to sleep.
Have you already been sorted? I forgot when's the
Match.
match? Yes. Have you already done that? That's second
Not
year?
yet. So
No, it's not.
So
It's fourth year.
you do that at the end of your fourth year. So
Okay.
I will apply for residency kind of September of next year, and then I will match in March of 2027.
Do you want to stay in Ohio? Is that your
I would like
Yeah.
to. Both my family's here and my partner's family is here, and so medicine, like having a family and growing a family, is really it's challenging enough for anyone, but especially when you have a dual physician couple. Like the most important thing is having childcare, because like if you have a kid and both of you have to be in the hospital at 5 a.m., well,
Yeah.
daycare doesn't open at 5 a.m. And so like you got
Yeah.
to figure out some way for someone to take care of the kid, and either until daycare opens or whatnot. And so having family nearby is kind of really important for us. So would like definitely like to stay in Ohio for long term. And there's definitely other places that maybe I'd like to live, but like nothing has kind of everything that we want as Ohio does. So
Because you can kind of be like, kind of plucked out to anywhere, right? They kind of can put you, I guess, you
yeah.
get to apply where you want.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
you apply where you want, and you can be selective of those schools and the locations of those schools, but then the ultimate decision comes down to a computer algorithm. So you have to be
Right. Okay.
you have to be very specific about like how you rank things and
That's it.
whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if I don't apply to a school in California, I won't go to a school in
That's right.
California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like at 50 minutes now, but I did have a random question that's so niche because you posted a story. You went to Cedar Point, and I have been a lot of places, but I think the number one bucket list place for me ever is Cedar Point. I'm a
Okay.
super big roller coaster nerd, and I don't know why that stuck out to me because it's like two of my hobbies are like in one. Anyways, you went there one day. The roller coaster Steel Vengeance is,
Hmm.
according to enthusiasts, like it's like there's like three coasters in the whole world that are the best in the world, and Steel Vengeance
Hmm.
is one of them. What do you think
Hmm.
of it? Yeah.
I
I
think
want
it
to know
was
what you
really
thought of it.
cool. I mean, it was the roller coaster that took me out for the rest of the day, so I think that's like a pretty good
That's a
indicator.
good
But I mean,
sign.
it's a wooden roller coaster where you're doing barrel rolls and like you're doing flips. So
It's a
like
hybrid. It's a steel
exactly.
hybrid. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's really cool. You have to like put all your stuff in a locker before you go in because of all the twists and turns you do. And I certainly enjoyed it, but I just got very motion sickness after it.
Yeah. That's wild. So you get motion sickness.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of yeah, I was like, that's really cool. That's like the one place I want to go. And I've been to every continent, well, except Antarctica. And I just want to go to Ohio. Not Ohio.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Ohio.
Ohio. You
Yep.
must live really close to it, right?
It's like a 2 hour drive from where I am.
Wow. That's really cool. Was that your first time there?
It was, yeah. So I grew up in Cincinnati, so Kings Island was where we went
Oh,
growing up.
yeah. Another big amusement park.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
think they're owned
my
by the
my
same
girlfriend's
people.
from Toledo, so all she knew growing up was Cedar Point. That's where they would always go, and so she very much like before residency started, she was like, "I want to go to Cedar Point one more time, and I want to take you because you made me go mountain biking in New Zealand, which I really didn't want to do." And so I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And so yeah, so we went, and I was like, "You know what? I'll do as many as I can, and there's gonna become a point where I get like motion sickness, and when that point happens, like I'll still stand in line with you, but I'm just not gonna do any more roller coasters."
And it was that
So
one, Chill Vengeance.
yeah, Steel Vengeance did it in for me.
That made me think of one more question. How'd you guys meet in medical school?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
met the first kind of couple months of med school, and we've been together ever since. And it's been really nice to kind of go through it together. Obviously, we're not like at
Yeah.
the same point anymore because I ended up taking kind of 2 additional research years. So she graduated this spring. I'll graduate in a year and a half. But it's been really nice to kind of have someone that like understands kind of what the other person is going through.
Does she have any desire to do a triathlon, an Ironman?
No,
No.
no. Well, no. She claims that she's gonna do it one day so that I have to experience what she goes through
A
when I'm
Sherpa
racing.
or being a
Being a Sherpa and also just having the anxiety of like, oh, is he gonna crash?
yeah.
Like, how's he doing? Is he doing okay? Type of a thing. So, we'll see. But I think it will be a while before she does one. But who knows? Maybe she'll surprise me and like out of nowhere, like we'll see her at the start line next year or something.
You guys are both obviously super A-type motivated people, and I feel like that's kind of the next logic. The next step is to do something with sports, like if you're like, getting into 30, 40, like doing CrossFit or a marathon or something. Do you guys ever do anything together, like run or train or anything together?
Not as much. I mean, we've certainly like last year she did Pelotonia. We did Pelotonia together. So we did a 50 mile bike ride together for cancer research, and so we trained together for that. And but for the most part, like when she wants to go to a run, she wants that as like her time. And so
Right, right.
yeah.
That was kind of my next thing was we're at the end. I don't really have much more to, I mean, yeah, I feel like I could talk to you a lot. You're just really fascinating to me, and I'm sure a lot of people. But did you want to shout out your social media and Pelotonia? This I just saw that it's like going on. Yeah, shout out all your stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, the main way to follow me is on Instagram. I keep saying that I'm gonna get on other platforms, but so far it's been too much. Instagram's been enough of a challenge for me to just kind of keep up with all of that. But so I'm Matthew D Marquardt on Instagram, and then kind of the other big thing that I'm really involved with is an annual cancer fundraising bike ride called Pelotonia, which is spelled Peloton IA, and that is a bike ride that raises money for cancer research. That just happened this past weekend, and so I'm posting tons and tons of reels this week from the experience. I hope that it doesn't bore people and keeps them interesting. But it's if you want to donate, just kind of Google Pelotonia and then search for my name. Donations are open until October 15th, and really appreciate it because 100% of any donation goes directly to cancer research at Ohio State. So it has a huge impact.
Did you help put Pelotonia on? Like, are you like involved in that?
No. So Pelotonia started 17 years ago.
Okay.
This year we had almost 7,400 riders
Wow.
do the event. So 3 times the size of any Ironman that's hosted.
That's right. Wow. That's a lot of
so
people.
it's a huge event and really, really cool. Kind of mainly Friday night and Saturday, and then there's some rides on Sunday too. But you can do anything from 20 miles to 100 miles in one day, or you can do 2 days and do up to 200 miles. And I'm just kind of involved in terms of helping spread the news about Pelotonia. And some of my research has been funded by Pelotonia, so I'm very grateful for everything that they do, and I think it's a great thing. And so I want more people to get involved because it's just such a emotional kind of, I don't know if I'd say life changing because I think that can be overused, but it's a really, really impactful weekend that I think everyone should be involved with. So that's kind of my role.
Well, it's working because like I would have never heard of it, and I even Googled it. I Googled Pelotonia to see what it was. So that you're getting the word out. It's really
Excellent.
cool. It seems like that should be I bet there's a lot more but like 7,000 people, that should be like national news. That's huge to get that many people to go. Yeah, to get that many people to go biking, that doesn't seem like that's like a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, because that's a lot of people to go biking. I guess they shut off the whole city, right? Like shut down the whole city.
Yeah. Like, it's fully the roads are closed, and everyone's kind of able to bike on it together. And it's basically like the world's longest draft line.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that it literally just stretches for miles. So yeah, and you can go however fast or slow as you want. It's really kind of more about doing it, not necessarily about going fast. And I did 100 miles in like 7.5 hours. Normally on a normal weekend I'd do that in like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just for a good cause. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. I want to say to everyone, go follow Matt. I think it's really cool. There's a lot of people out. There's a lot of pros out. There's a lot of pros in general, not just triathlon, who like they're about their sport, but you actually like have a whole other like dynamic to you, which you put the names of cancer survivors, people that you knew about on your bike. Like there's a whole other dynamic to you, which I think is really cool and endearing instead of just like kind of a one-dimensional. We don't really see much from anybody else. Like it's a lot of kind of robotic triathletes who don't really have any dimension. But you do have a massive other side, which I think is really cool. So yeah, everyone, if you want to see who I'm talking to for this podcast episode, go follow Matt on Instagram, maybe other platforms eventually, and follow his career. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And Matt, thank you for coming on this show as my third guest. Yes. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah. We will see you guys next week for another episode.
Amazing. Thank you so much.